talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
By the river, Rio Bravo.
Quentin's life experience is cinema. I mean, he lives, breathes, eats, sleeps cinema, so it's natural that he makes films about cinema, you know. And so that's his thing. I mean, that is Quentin Tarantino's style.
I think he's been, for years, building up this huge, this momentum inside of himself, of all these things he's always wanted to say. And he has such energy and conviction that he's now rolling. It's like this spring that had been tightened up for years and years, and he's writing these things and fantasizing, watching movies and writing, and the spring is getting tighter and tighter, and then it starts with, and it just, whoa, it's going.
He's sort of one of those examples of someone who, in another era, would have been considered hopelessly square or gawky or awkward and so on, who is just absolutely as hip as you can get right now. Every film that he makes now will be eagerly anticipated, and from one film to the next, to be able to evolve from kind of cult hit with Reservoir Dogs to, you know, Palme d'Or winner in Cannes with Pulp Fiction was quite exceptional.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
Oh man, they got the metric system. They wouldn't know what the fuck a quarter pounder is.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
What do they call a Big Mac?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
Le Big Mac.
When people see killers for hire, you tend to think that they sit at home and they clean their guns, they sharpen their knives, they polish their bullets and do all these other things. But Quentin takes you into the world where you actually find out that they gossip. They talk about, you know, their lives outside of what they do. He has a facility for creating everyday language and sensibilities in his characters.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France?
No.
Tell him, Vincent.
Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese. You know why they call it that?
Because of the metric system?
Check out the big brain on bread.
He really does work, again, with archetypes, you know, and mixes them up a bit. And certain things, you know, that he borrows from different, you know, pop culture and stuff, TV. TV should never be ignored in Quentin's whole scheme of things.
You know, she looked like Christy Love. Remember that TV show, Christy Love, about the black female cop? She always used to say,
"You under arrest, sugar." What's the name of the chick who played Christy Love?
Pam Grier.
No, it wasn't Pam Grier. Pam Grier was the other one. Pam Grier did the film. Christy Love was like a Pam Grier TV show without Pam Grier.
So, who was Christy Love?
How the fuck should I know?
Great, now I'm totally fucking tortured.
He's working in genre, but I think the films are very personal to him. And I could see it. I mean, when I saw Pulp Fiction with a little boy just watching the TV, kind of being alone in this big room and the TV being his friend, and to me, that's Quentin.
It's hard to go back to the very, 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 very beginning, because I always remember loving movies, and that was always the one thing that I loved more than anything else. You know, it was just you know, the thing that I enjoyed more. Some kids enjoy sports more, some kids enjoy this or that more. I always was into film. I loved horror films. I was really into the Universal horror film, you know, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and everything like that. And then also comedies. And MXL was my favorite at the time. And I mean, my first actually kind of like understanding, or I guess where I made genre distinctions in film, was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Because when I was a little kid, that was my favorite movie of all time. In fact, if you look at Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein now, I mean, it's not like the way they do comedy horror films now. I mean, the Frankenstein monster kills people. He picks that nurse up and throws her through the window, you know, and she's dead. Hurry up. I remember thinking, wow, these are the greatest movies ever, because the scary parts are scary and the funny parts are really funny. Two great tastes that taste great together, you know?
It wasn't like he had some advantage, or he wasn't from some place of entitlement. He didn't know people in the business. He didn't even finish high school.
Yeah, I quit school when I was 15 or 16. I always wanted to be an actor at that time. So that was the whole, that was the whole game plan, was to be an actor, you know. And when I quit school, I studied with the actor James Best, who was the star of Sam Fuller Verboten and Shock Corridor, and he was, at the time, was the sheriff on the TV show Dukes of Hazzard. Actually, I have a, where is it here? This is my acting t-shirt. Roscoe P. Coltrane. Part of the thing that Jimmy taught in his class is he taught camera technique. He taught you how to act for the camera. It wasn't about stage, and it wasn't about just acting per se. All right, because his whole idea was, you're in Los Angeles, you're an actor, the way you're going to make your living is, you know, 1 or 2, 3 lines on Quincy, or 1 or 2, 3 lines on the Dukes of Hazzard, or whatever, you know. That, I mean, that, you're in Los Angeles, that's what you're doing.
In this scene, you're both in a car, and Bill Shatner is hanging on the hood. What you want to do is get him off.
All right, I'm Morty.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay. I'm driving. Okay. Where the fuck did he come from?
I don't know. He just appeared like magic.
Well, don't just sit there. Shoot him. Get him.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. I'm very impressed. You're a very fine actor.
I was living in the South Bay, and this fellow named Lance Lawson had just opened up this video store called Video Archives. And it really was a movie lover's heaven. It was really terrific. I was a customer there, and I really liked it. And eventually he asked me if I wanted a job. And I was like, yeah, I'd love a job here. This would be a dream. And it was. It was, until I became a director, it was the best job I'd ever had. And I ended up working there for like 5 years. Well, this is where the world-famous Video Archives was. And this is where it is now. So why don't we go inside and take a look.
Video Archives was a very relaxed atmosphere. They had popcorn available, so I'm a popcorn fan. I would eat popcorn and chat with Quentin. I always got a kick out of talking to Quentin because he was so opinionated about everything under the sun.
This is one of the few places that Quentin could come as a regular guy and get a job and become like a star, because he was like the star of the store. Since if you needed
the star of the store too.
Well, yeah, but he didn't know as much as you did. So like,
Lance knows a lot. He knows.
Yeah,
he knows. I know more about it. I know more about Italian exploitation films and TNA movies. Chess Franco than Lance.
A customer would come into the store and it could ask me maybe an obscure film, and I might be able to tell the year it was directed, who directed it, and maybe who the leads were. and Quentin would go on to tell you who the supporting cast was, who the DP was, who wrote the screenplay, and probably do a couple of scenes from the film with the dialogue verbatim. You know, that's the difference between Quentin and I.
But you see, the funnest part, one of
The thing
the
about like
funnest
film geeks
about
is they have an intense love for film. Incredible love for film, incredible passion. They devote a lot of time, they devote a lot of money, and they devote a lot of their life to the following of film. But they don't really have that much to show for all this devotion, other than a movie poster collection or a still collection. All right. The one thing that they do have to definitely show for it is they have their opinion. All right. They have a highly developed opinion. But what you find out fairly quickly in Hollywood is this is a community where hardly anybody trusts their own opinion. People want people to tell them what is good, what to like, what not to like. Now, here I come. All right? I'm a film geek. My opinion is everything. All right? You can all disagree with me. I don't care. All right? I know I'm right as far as I'm concerned. All right? And I'll argue anybody down.
That's what he's got. I mean, you see other people go out there and they're cannier, they're cleverer, they play more games. Quentin just goes blah, and that's really refreshing in Hollywood. People like that; they're attracted to it.
Well, Jim McBride's version of Breathless was an extremely influential movie for me. Because I'm not saying it was the first movie ever to do this, but it was one of the first movies I'd ever seen. That like, all this little scenes I had been writing up until this time had, characters talking about movies and stuff. And then all of a sudden I go to the theaters, as it's playing at the Cinerama Dome out here, I go to the theaters and then here's a movie that is like indulging completely in all of my obsessions. Comic books in the form of the Silver Surfer, rockabilly music, which I love rock and roll, but I particularly love rockabilly music, in the form of Jerry Lee Lewis, and then in the form of Richard Gere's character. His character is like one of the most like out-and-out rockabilly characters that there is. And also in the form of movies. All right, not that the characters don't sit around and talk about movies all the time, but with the use of like obviously, fake process shots going on behind them and everything, throughout the whole film.
The killer rock sound. Mr. Jerry Lee Lewis and his perfect piano.
And then the way Jim McBride filmed it is he turned all of Los Angeles into like a back lot. But like this scene here, just watching a scene set in front of a phony backdrop, all right, that just hangs as Richard Gere just takes over the screen and basically just sings along to a song, and like that's good enough. And then also, if you add to the fact that in this movie, Richard Gere's character is as close to unlikable as you could possibly be, and you still kind of like the guy, and I like that and stuff.
Holy
I was 22 when I started Video Archives, and by the time I got to about 23, I decided to make a film. And it was a film called My Best Friend's Birthday. It was a comedy. It was almost like a Martin Lewis kind of thing.
Out of the blue, I felt depressed for no reason whatsoever. Just this dark cloud hanging over my head. I was going to commit suicide. I was actually going to commit suicide. I was going to go open the bathroom, I was going to fill a tub of hot water, and I was going to slice open my veins. I was actually going to, I was going to do it. Now, for a 3-year-old to be thinking like that, that's really depressing. You know what saved me? It was the Partridge Family. The Partridge Family was coming on, I really wanted to see it, so I thought, okay, I'll watch the Partridge Family, then I'll kill myself. And, I watched it, and it was a really funny episode. It was the one where Danny got in trouble with the mom. Well, it was a really funny one. And I didn't feel like killing myself afterwards. It all kind of worked out. What were we talking about?
I've been shooting this thing for 3 years, and I thought we were making something really special. And it was kind of embarrassing when I started really looking at it again. Now, ultimately, I think making a movie is the best film school that there ever is. And so I I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning, and now I know what I'm doing now, and I've had the experience, and so now, okay, but now I'm not going to make a movie like that anymore. And so I wrote True Romance. You know, I wrote it to be done for about $1 million, $1.3 million. Pauline Kael once said in a thing, in this town you could die of encouragement. All right, well, for 3 years, well, at least for 2 years straight, while I was trying to get True Romance going, it was 2 weeks away. In 2 weeks, we'll have the deal, we'll have the money, away we go. After a certain point, I said, okay, this isn't going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen is because I tried to get too much money when I haven't done anything. Who's going to give me $1 million? All right, so then I wrote Natural Born Killers. The whole idea was, okay, I'm going to write Natural Born Killers, and I'm going to raise $500,000. Now, a year and a half, not quite 2 years, but about a year and a half passes. And I'm a little further along than I was with True Romance, but we're not going to be shooting film anytime shortly. I finally said, look, you know what? Nobody is going to give me money to make a movie. That isn't going to happen. Why would they? All right? And by this time, it looked like True Romance was going to sell, just the script. All right? And so I was going to have, Writers Guild minimum, okay, for it, which is what I was paid for the film. So it looked like I was going to have $30,000 that I could have. And so I decided, well, I'm going to write a film to do for $30,000. Shoot it in 12 days, $30,000, 16 millimeter, black and white, starring some friends, and I will have a movie made and finished. By this time, I had met Lawrence, and Lawrence was a real godsend.
We were both very broke at the time. He didn't have a car, so he couldn't drive over to my place. I didn't have money, so I wasn't paying for Xeroxes, So I came over to his place and I read the script, and I flipped over it. It was an extraordinary piece of writing, and I said, look, you got to give me some time. I think I can raise some real money for this movie.
And I was like, no. I've heard that so much. 5 years I've heard that, all right? I tried to deal my way in for 5 years, and it was no sale.
So he ended up giving me 2 months, which, as I'm sure any sane person knows, that's insane. And it's really an undoable thing, especially two people who nobody knows about.
Lawrence was an actor too, and he was studying acting, and his teacher's wife goes to the actor studio with Harvey Keitel. So he got the script to his teacher. His teacher read it, liked it, gave it to his wife. She read it, she liked it, she put it in Harvey's hands.
I contacted Lawrence Bender and Quentin. We had many conversations. I told them I was committed to making the movie.
All of a sudden, we weren't just a couple of kids anymore with a film, with a script like everyone else had. We actually had Harvey Keitel. And then Monte Hellman came aboard, to just kind of act as sort of like a godfather.
I was so intrigued by him, as well as the script, that I said, well, maybe I could help you with this.
And Monte had done a film for the company Live Entertainment. So he got the script to Richard Gladstein.
I made the assumption that whoever could have written this must be an intelligent, articulate person. So if he wrote this in the manner in which he wrote it, you'd have to give him the shot to direct it.
Richard was telling me later that basically that unless I had been a complete jerk, he would have made the movie anyway.
Quentin shot-listed the picture from beginning to end before we got into real full pre-production. Then we cast the movie. And he was really nervous right before casting. But after the first person coming in the room, he realized there was nothing to be nervous about. And then after all that, then he went up to Sundance and he directed a couple scenes.
Sundance is this institute that Robert Redford basically started, which is up in the mountains in Utah. and it's incredibly beautiful setting, and the little cabins and everything, and basically it's a chance to bring professional filmmakers and writers together with people who are trying to get into the business. And anyway, it's what people do. They submit scripts and ideas of what they want to do, and then they're given 2 weeks up there, and they make scenes from either films they try to make or whatever.
I wanted to experiment on my first scene with long takes. I didn't want to do coverage. I wanted to just string a bunch of long takes together and see how it worked. All right. This is really the first time since I've actually kind of got a little bit of sense of what I was doing that I had a camera back in my hand again.
It's like every time I ever got burned buying weed, same thing, man. I felt funny about the guy, you know. But I wanted to believe him because I feel like, if he's not lying to me, and if it really is tie stick, whoa, baby, you know. But it's never fucking tie stick. And I said if I ever felt that way about a job, I'd fucking walk. So the fucking money. Hey, look, Dan, I need you cool. All right, what's done is done. I need you cool. Are you cool?
And now Quentin was overlapping. This is what's kind of strange. He had the experience of 2 groups of professionals. And the previous group, whose name I won't reveal, had really been pretty rough on him, I think.
Really majorly rough. All right. And they were saying, yeah, but these long takes, oh my God, and da-da-da-da-da, and your shots are fine, Quentin, but there's not enough of them, and I didn't like that big wide shot. I saw because I did some big wide shot. It was supposed to double for the warehouse where the camera was on the floor, and I liked it. I thought it worked really great. Yeah, I'm just seeing too much floor. And then I had this big shot in this mirror where they're talking, I didn't like that. They didn't like anything. Anyway, that group leaves, and then the next group comes in. And the next group is Terry Gilliam and Volker Schlorndorff and Stanley Donen and Robert Estrin. They get in there.
And our group loved Quentin because here was a man with such incredible enthusiasm and this outrageous script, amazing energy, great dialogue, and just the sheer audacity of what he was doing.
Damn it, I swear to God, I am fucking jinxed!
What?
And this is where the Sundance Institute, I think, was a very useful thing, because he went there with all this energy and all these ideas and his big chance to show everything he could do, and he did it all in each of these short scenes. He did there were camera angles here, they were everywhere. The camera wouldn't stay still. It was up people's noses, down their throats. It was, woo, and you couldn't see anything. And I think that was a really useful thing for him to get out of his system.
I think somebody had a talk with him and said, you have to just slow down here. But, yeah, he had a lot of energy and enthusiasm at Sundance, and he had it on set too. I think he was able to hone his ideas more, and he had more focus when we were actually shooting.
He had, I forget how many men are in the movie now, 6 or 8 or something. And he had these 6 or 8 different styles of acting and different personalities to contend with, all very dynamic men. And Quentin won their confidence and their trust from day one.
Here are your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, and Mr. Pink.
Why am I Mr. Pink?
Because you're a faggot, all right?
Why can't we pick our own colors?
No way, no way. Tried it once, it doesn't work. You get 4 guys all fighting over who's going to be Mr. Black. But they don't know each other, so nobody wants to back down. No way. I pick. You're Mr. Pink. Be thankful you're not Mr. Yellow.
Any of the characters looked like they would be fun to play. And the fact that they weren't so simple, that each of them were kind of complex. You were, half the time you were rooting for them, half the time you didn't like them, but they were always interesting.
You wanna fuck with me? I'll show you who you're fucking with. You wanna shoot me, you little piece of shit? Go ahead, take a shot.
Fuck you, White. I didn't create this situation. I'm dealing with it. You're acting like a first-year fucking thief. I'm acting like a professional. They get him, they could get you. They get you, they get closer to me, and that can't happen. You're looking at me like it's my fault? I didn't tell him my name. I didn't tell him where I was from. Shit, 15 minutes ago, you almost told me your name. Your buddy there is stuck in a situation you created. So if you want to go bad, look somewhere. Draw him in a mirror.
You kids shouldn't play so rough. Somebody's gonna start crying.
His mom once told me a story about how he was always, he would, when he'd be playing with his G.I. Joes and making up things, and he'd be saying these outrageous things, and his mom would be like, Quentin, don't use that kind of language. And he'd say, it's not me, Mom, it's the characters. It's the guys. That's what they'd say.
You almost killed me! Asshole! If I know what kind of guy you were, I never would have agreed to work with you.
Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite? What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Would you repeat it? Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
Oh, Christ. Hey, look, you two assholes, calm the fuck down. Hey, come on, back up. What, are we on a playground here, huh? Am I the only professional?
I thought that perhaps Quentin's father was associated with these kinds of people, or a brother, or an uncle, or he himself in the neighborhood. And I was a bit astonished to discover that neither of what I thought was so, and that he gathered all of his awareness about these characters from watching movies.
I think my favorite war movie probably is De Palma's Casualties of War. And there's a scene in here, it happens towards the beginning of the movie, where Sean Penn's character's best friend is shot, and he's taking care of him. And it was probably like, I really used it when I was doing Reservoir Dogs, as far as like just like not copying it frame by frame or anything, but just when I was writing the script emotionally, as far as like this scene at the beginning between Mr. Orange and Mr. White, when Mr. Orange is shot and Mr. White's dealing with him. Just the feeling between the two men and trying to convince somebody that he's okay.
Sarge, I'm in trouble, man. I'm in trouble, Sarge.
It ain't nothing, Brownie. It ain't nothing.
You're hurt. You're hurt real fucking bad. But you ain't dying. I'm gonna die.
I was scaring the shit out of me, Larry. I'm gonna die, I know it.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't realize you had a degree in medicine.
There's one line coming up here when he puts him on the helicopter that, you know, I did up my own variation of it. You know, where Harvey Keitel is dealing with Mr. Orange, and he says, "Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. You know, you're going to be okay." Or he says this thing, but you know, the whole idea, you know, and here they have the line. He has the line, you know, "Look into my eyes. I'm going to hypnotize you." I didn't steal the whole thing, but it's like, but just the idea of, look at here.
Sarge, look in my fucking eyes. I'm gonna hypnotize you. Good. You're fine. Hey, I know it, man.
Just look in my eyes, Larry. Look in my eyes. Don't tell them anything. You'll be safe, man.
You're not gonna fucking die, kid, all right?
When I first got into De Palma was like probably the first like working director of his generation that I got into. He really showed me what you could do with cinema. And it's exciting when you love somebody who's currently making movies and you're waiting for their new one. I read every review and stuff of De Palma's and his interviews, and I collected them. This is like a book of his interviews. I don't think there's any reviews in here. But this was like a pretty damn good collection of actually some of his most interesting interviews, but I even threw ones in there that weren't interesting. I was going through the scrapbook that I used to keep, and I hadn't looked at it maybe in like you know at least 6 years. Right. And I was going through it and everything. And it was all the interviews she did at the time of Body Double and Scarface and everything. And I'm like seeing like you know all their pull quotes on violence. Right. You know how that was their headline. Right. But I had never thought about it back then, and now I'm like, oh my God, what I've been going through about having to talk about violence and having to talk about this and what I think about it. It's like, well, Brian's been going through this for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that is that, especially on television, because when we talk about violence, everybody suddenly tunes in. And while we're discussing violence, they're going to show a sequence from one of our most violent pictures. and they're going to sell a lot of products.
But see, the thing, one of the things you said, though, that I've like used in different interviews, because it was just so right on the money, that when you, as a filmmaker, when you deal in violence, you're actually penalized for doing a good job.
Absolutely, because you want to make the sequences as effective and as moving as possible. You use all the things you've learned from other directors and things you've invented yourself. And you and I are interested in a kind of visual language and storytelling that nobody understands, basically, because they're blown away by it and they don't exactly understand why. And then they say, well, my God, somebody was being knifed or somebody was being shot. This is horrible and reprehensible, and I feel badly about enjoying it. But, you know, cinema is as we've said 1,000 times, is a visual medium, and we're interested in terrific visual sequences, and many of them happen to be violent.
I know people, you know, who could have seen Reservoir Dogs and would have been fine with it.
Right.
All right. But when they hear violence, you know, they talked about Reservoir Dogs as if it was one of the most, as if it was the most violent movie ever made.
Right.
Now, someday I may make the most violent movie ever made, and I wouldn't mind people saying it, but I didn't.
Right.
You ever listen to K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s?
If I'm sitting at home and I'm imagining I'm, you know, the husband of some young couple, and we're just sitting there and thinking, well, what do you want to see tonight, honey? You want to see
It happens
Forrest?
one night.
You want to see Forrest Gump? Do you want to see? Well, what's that? Well, that's the movie where Tom Hanks plays the retarded guy, and you know meets John F. Kennedy. Or okay, well, what else? Well, do you want to see Clear and Present Danger? Well, what's that? Well, that's the new Harrison Ford movie. Or do you want to see Reservoir Dogs? What's that? Well, that's the movie where the guy gets his ear cut off. You know. And that's how it was thought of. It's thought of the movie where the guy gets his ear cut off. All right.
Joe Egan and Jerry Rafferty were a duo known as Dealer's Wheel when they recorded this Dylan-esque pop bubble gum favorite from April of 1974. That reached up to number 5 as K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s continues.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair. And I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle.
Reservoir Dogs, the ear cutting off scene. I mean, people went on about how shocking it was. I mean, I thought it was brilliantly done because you don't see anything. And that's what was so good about it. And yet people describe it as if they saw it. They thought it was gratuitous. And I thought he did it as well as you can do something like that.
Because of the way that he set up the characters, even though the violence is cruel, it doesn't feel necessarily cruel to me. Because he's sort of, you're not really, you don't know anything about Michael Madsen. I don't know what his problem is with this cop, you know. It's just, he's a psycho gangster and he's a cop. They're archetypes.
Reservoir Dogs just turned up in the catalog of the Sundance Film Festival, and I was there for the first screening of it, and it was a stunning experience because most of the guys in the audience were absolutely riveted by the film, and there were quite a few walkouts at the predictable ear scene. And all the walkouts were women, and so it was obvious that this is a film that would have its die-hard adherents as well as people who just couldn't take it.
And so from Sundance, Miramax picked up the movie, and the heat really spread. And I'm really happy with the way. I mean, the movie grossed $3 million in the U.S., and when you figure the movie only cost $1.5 million, I mean, to me that's successful.
Reservoir Dogs wasn't that particularly well received in the States. It certainly did much better here. I thought Quentin's great success was that he then went to Cannes, and then he went for a year on the film festival circuit, garnering more publicity than anybody I've ever seen in the last several years.
He really did become a film festival favorite. He was at every film festival. meeting key people in the international scene, flying off. I mean, when I was in Brazil this year, they were telling me, oh, Quentin was here last year, and he would duck out, after he'd gobbled his lunch in a half an hour, and he'd go out and see, 6 movies in a day, because he just had to see everything. And he was doing that all year long. It was extraordinary.
They spent a huge amount of money on it because Tony is a recognized director of a certain scale, so you get more money for doing that. But it doesn't work because it's not in the style of Quentin's. It's not in Quentin's style. Tony does what he does, and Quentin seems to do what he does. And the two, I didn't think, blended.
One element that Tony added to it, that, again, it's not like a scene that he wrote, it's just something that came across in his shooting, is he added a fairy tale element to it that I don't think was as 100% in mine as it was in his.
Can I peek?
Don't peek. Keep your eyes shut, all right? All right, now turn the lights on. Okay, open them.
Oh, wow! Wow, what a swell place to work.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I got the keys, so I just come in, read comics, play music.
You worked here a long time?
Almost 4 years.
That's a long time.
That whole video archives time, even though it's not directly in the movie, it is in the movie. That time is captured perfectly in True Romance. It almost takes it to, like mythology or something. I mean, not for Joe Schmo on the street, but definitely for the people who worked at video archives. They can't watch the movie without, oh wow, and just like it takes us all back. Because the things that Clarence says, they're the things that I and the rest of us said. The conversations that he has, or the conversations that we had. Our names are all throughout the script. Lance is the guy I work for. He's in the movie.
Okay, here goes. You know the place you took me to last night? Place you work?
Heroes for sale?
You got boss, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's his name?
Lance.
That's him. He called the place where I work. He ordered a girl for you. He said he wanted you to get laid. See, you didn't get out much, and it was your birthday and all.
I was a guy when I wrote this that, I hadn't even really had a girlfriend by this time. I had just had a lot of, done a lot of dates, but never had a girlfriend. So I wanted a girlfriend, and Alabama in some ways was kind of like a dream girlfriend,
Now, I gotta tell you something else. When you said last night was one of the best times you ever had, did you mean physically?
Oh, yeah, but I'm talking about the whole night. I mean, I never had as much fun with the girl as I had with you my whole life. It's true. You like Elvis, you like Janice, you like Kung Fu movies, you like the Partridge Family.
Actually, I don't like the Partridge Family. That was part of the act.
Quentin's a big romantic, actually, and I think that couples are extremely important to him, and that dynamic, and having your pal that's like your girlfriend, but she's your pal, and, that kind of thing, like in True Romance.
All of his characters exist in his world. There's a reference to Alabama, who's the star of True Romance, in Reservoir Dogs. When Lawrence Tierney's character asks Harvey Keitel's character, how's Bama? And you kind of realize that after, in Quentin's original script of True Romance, Clarence died, and you assume that Alabama hooked up with Mr. White, and they were jewel thieves together.
By the way, how's Alabama? Alabama? I haven't seen Bama over a year and a half.
I thought you two were a team.
We worked for a little while. Did about 4 jobs together. Then decided to call it quits.
Why?
You push that woman-man thing too long, and it gets to you after a while.
I'm a storyteller. I like telling a story, and I like things working as a story. All right. You know, I really like experimenting with a kind of cinema that you're not used to seeing, or taking the form and stretching it and twisting it and doing things that you're not used to seeing all the time.
You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
I'm Winston Wolfe. I solve problems.
Good, we got one.
So I heard. May I come in?
Yeah, please do.
You must be Jules, which would make you Vincent. Let's get down to brass tacks, gentlemen. If I was informed correctly, the clock is ticking. Is that right, Jimmy?
100%.
Your wife, Bonnie, comes home at 9:30 in the a.m. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
I was led to believe if she comes home and finds us here, she wouldn't appreciate it none too much.
You wanted that.
All right, that gives us 40 minutes to get the fuck out of Dodge. Which, if you do what I say, when I say it, should be plenty. Now, you got a corpse in a car, minus a head in a garage. Take me to it.
I'm trying to make things funny that you're not used to seeing in a humorous light, all right? And I'm not necessarily doing it by making fun of it. Oftentimes, I'm trying to show it in such a realistic setting, but with the foibles of real life thrust onto this, you know, action-adventure situation, but like how it would really play in real life, you know, so it starts seeming absurd.
Jimmy, lead the way. Boys, get to work.
Please would be nice.
Come again?
I said a please would be nice.
Get it straight, Buster. I'm not here to say please. I'm here to tell you what to do. And if self-preservation is an instinct you possess, you better fucking do it and do it quick. I'm here to help. If my help's not appreciated, lots of luck, gentlemen.
No, Mr. Wolf. It ain't like that. Your help is definitely appreciated.
Mr. Wolf, listen. I don't mean disrespect, okay? I respect you. I just don't like people barking orders at me, that's all.
If I'm curt with you, it's because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast, and I need you guys to act fast if you want to get out of this. So, pretty please, with sugar on top. Clean the fucking car.
In the case of Pulp Fiction, the starting off point, the jumping off point for the piece was the idea of doing a crime film anthology. You know, I'd never seen a crime film anthology before. And yet those were like the ones that were like the most done in paperbacks, you know, like the Black Mask magazine and stuff. And so I thought of the idea of doing that in a film. But then upon sitting down, I started realizing, well, yeah, that's fun to do, the idea of like an anthology, but there's much more gold here. It could be really neat to do 3 separate stories, but have the same group of characters floating in and out.
The fuck is this place?
This is Jack Rabbit Slim's. An Elvis man should love it.
Come on, man, let's go get a steak.
You can get a steak here, Daddy-O.
This scene is the scene where Vincent Vega, John Travolta, has to take out the big man, Marcellus Wallace, he's referred to as the big man all the time, take out his wife, Mia Wallace, on to take her out to dinner. And it's entertaining escapades that ensue, you know, when she picks Jack Rabbit Slim's as the place to go. In a Rob Reiner movie, this would be like about $1 million. All right. I mean, this exact set and everything, but our production designer, because he's a genius, did the whole thing for $150,000.
Just to let you all know, Ricky will be back in the second half of our show. So we hope you enjoy your meals here at Jack Rabbit Slim's. Thank you.
What do you think?
The idea in this scene, basically, Quentin wanted to have it be as drawn out as it would be if you were meeting someone for the first time and you didn't have anything to talk about and you were a little awkward to begin with.
So, Marcella said you just got back from Amsterdam.
Sure did.
How long were you there?
Just over 3 years.
I go there about once a year to chill out for a month.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Why would you?
I like that idea that the whole thing is about a date. The date, the date, the date. He's going on the date. He's going on the date with Mia Wallace. He's going on the date. All right? And when you get to the date, you have a date. You're with them. You don't just like, you know, da-da-da-da, 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 da-da. Oh, you too? Yeah. Oh, let's go. You know, all right? And then they split. You know, I like the fact that you actually hang out with them, that you get to know Mia, and you actually get to know Vincent with Mia through the course of the time that they're together.
There's a lot of dialogue that's been taken out in this scene. I actually lobbied pretty hard to take out even more dialogue. And Quentin really stuck by his guns and really wanted it to remain as long as it is, especially the silence where they're not talking to each other.
Don't you hate that?
Hey, what?
Uncomfortable silences.
I don't find it boring at all right? I enjoy it, all right? And also, it makes it, I think you get totally more involved with them. And so, after that, when the story, like, you know, like, takes off, it means so much more, and actually it moves even faster, all right? But, you know, my point of view is, if you're afraid of talking, then you shouldn't be watching one of my movies.
Now, this is where one lucky couple will win this handsome trophy that Marilyn here is holding. Now, who will be our first contestants?
Right here. Want to dance? No. I do believe Marcellus, my husband, your boss, told you to take me out and do whatever I wanted. And now I want to dance. I want to win. I want that trophy. So dance good.
All right. Uma's not the kind of person that just, you know, hits the dance floor, you know, with everyone watching her. All right, you know, she's just not, that's not her. She was nervous about doing the dance, all right, because she thought she had to dance. She thought she had to be good because I'm having a big scene that's showing, like, we're stopping it to show the dance, all right? I'm having a dance number. But then what we did is the day of the dance, I talked to her about the twist and we practiced it together and we all worked it out a little bit. And then during rehearsal, but then I waited for the day of the dance day. And by that time, it was like the last day we were in the Jack Rabbit Slims and stuff. And so what I did was, that morning I got her and John together in a trailer and I showed them the dance sequence from this movie, Ben Depart. All right, you know, that little, like, with the three of them. And I go, that's what I want. As far as, you know, they're not dancers. They're not executing a dance perfectly. But for my money, they're the greatest dancers in the world. They're having fun. They're not dancing well, but they're actually dancing great because they're having fun. And I'm enjoying watching them, enjoying doing the dance. That's what I want you to do. And they both got it. They just, once they saw that, they just, okay, I know exactly what you want. Let's do it.
They had a high-five phone, old boy, did they let it blast. 700 little records, all rock, rhythm, and jazz. But when the sun went down, the rapid tempo of the music fell. C'est la vie, say the old folks, it goes to show you never can tell.
The Palme d'Or goes to Pulp Fiction.
The Conwin, all right, is like, that's a big shield. You know, when they're throwing bricks at me on general principle because my films are violent or this or that and the other, all right, in some ways the Conwin is like a good thing that just says, you know, you're misunderstanding me. I'm not just about that. I'm about other things too.
I think what's going to be interesting is whether he can develop beyond writing about movies and start writing about all of this stuff out here. Because he's I mean, we all keep talking about this, we've been friends and all. We keep talking, what's Quentin going to do next? He's got to mature. He's got to stop being this cinema freak kid who is so clever and so wild, because it's the most dangerous thing that can happen to you, is to be successful within that system, because they want more of the same, and you can live in this totally fantasized world.
It's a cult, really, around Quentin. And it's happened so quickly that I just think that I'm like his mother right now. I just hope that, you know, that he'll get the opportunity to develop, you know.
I don't want to be known at the end of 15 years as the gun guy. Now, I like making these kind of films. I have an affection for them. I like seeing them. I like reading these kind of novels. I like doing other things too. I have an idea for a movie I might do coming up about, you know, how a guy feels about his ex-girlfriend. All right, and you know, if you feel, you know, a strong way about your ex-girlfriend, you know, is she my first love, or was she my true love? Which one was she? All right, when it's happening to you, it means everything. It's the most important thing in your life. All right, I mean, it's a major issue. All right, now, you know, and I think, you know, stories like that can be made totally entertaining, wonderful story. Where Eagles Dare is my personal favorite of the Guys on a Mission. I love Guys on a Mission. I'm going to do a Guys on a Mission movie someday. I don't like surfers. I didn't like them when I was growing up. I lived in a surfing community. I thought they were all jerks, all right? And I like this movie so much. Surfers don't deserve this movie. Believe it or not, this poster, the movie lives up to this poster. And that's saying a hell of a lot.